Hello. In this video, we're going to be talking about LFOs, how they're used in musical synthesis, how they're used in modular synthesizers, and how they're used in music production. So if you don't know what an LFO is, or maybe you're like confused on what they do, how you can use them, this will be the video. LFO stands for Low Frequency Oscillator. Now, if you watched my VCO video, LFOs are a lot similar to VCOs, where they're both waveforms that both can have the same shape. They could have the same shape, a triangle, square, sawtooth, depending on the parameters you have available to you on your LFO. You may be able to change the shape, but where they differ is that LFOs, low frequency oscillators, are normally sub-audible frequencies where they're normally below 20 hertz. So, you don't hear them. You don't use them so you can hear the oscillator. What you use them for is normally to change parameters, because the oscillator, it's oscillating very slowly. You could have an LFO. It's oscillating as slowly as my hand right now. And it's going, between 100% and maybe 0 or 100% or negative 100%, however you want to think about 0 and 100%. But it's oscillating between 2 points normally. And you can use the value of that oscillator to change parameters. And if you saw my envelope video, it's a lot similar to that, where you can use an envelope to control the amplitude of a waveform, or maybe the cutoff on a filter. LFOs you could also use to change the amplitude of a waveform or the cutoff of a filter. But the difference between envelopes and LFOs is that envelopes have to be triggered to start the waveform that you then set based on your ADSR parameters, how you want that waveform to look and to act in time. But the LFOs are just oscillating at whatever frequency you have them set at. Okay, so here is the Korg Minilogue, and we are only going to be focusing on this section right here, LFO. So this little area right here is really all we're going to have to worry about. If we hear this patch, it's just a sawtooth wave. That's all it is. Just a simple sawtooth wave. And let's look at our parameters here on our LFO. So we have wave, and we have a triangle wave, a sawtooth wave, and a square wave. And obviously that's not changing the sound of the VCO at all. That it would only be changing the LFO. But the LFO is currently not doing anything, because the rate is at 0 all the way here, and the int, which is the amount that the LFO is changing, the target parameter, is also at 0. So this target parameter is what's going to set the LFO to changing a certain parameter. Right now, the target is on cutoff. So this LFO is going to change the cutoff filter here. So if we change the cutoff to halfway, we can see it rounded off a lot of the high end. Open it back up. It's back open. So if we turn the rate up a little bit, turn the cutoff down, so it's like kind of rounding off the top end of the sound, and then slowly turn the amount up, we're going to hear it start oscillating the amount of the cutoff. You hear it? It's coming in, and it's going away. And if we turn up the rate of that cutoff oscillating is going to increase. you can see we can get it pretty fast. And if we turn up the amount on either side is going to increase. So the amount that it increases the cutoff is going to increase, and the amount that the LFO decreases the cutoff at its lowest point will also increase. So now it's really drastic. And that's a cool sound. Now let's change the waveform, because right now the LFO is a triangle wave. Let's hear what it sounds like as a square wave. So now it's just oscillating between 2 points without a gradual what's the word? Gradual increase or gradual decrease from 100 to 0. Let's do the sawtooth. Nice. And now let's actually change the pitch instead of the cutoff. So you hear now the LFO is changing the pitch of our oscillator. Alright, so that's a quick little demonstration of an LFO on a, traditional synthesizer, like the Minilogue here. We're going to move over to the modular synth now, and I'm going to show you how you would use an LFO on the modular synth to control, various parameters. And we're going to see the LFO waveform, and I'm going to talk through everything that is changing. Hello, we are over here at the modular synth now, and the module, sorry about that we're going to be focusing on is going to be this module right here, the Erica Synth's Black Octasource. Now what it is an LFO generator that has 8 outputs, all corresponding to a different LFO. And you can see what the LFO is doing with these little LEDs here. You can change the waveform of the LFOs here. You can also change if it's on multi or single mode. Single mode, it will move through all of the LFOs at the same rate, starting at different points, it looks like. And the multi will have a multitude of different LFOs, all synced up to whatever the clock is. Nice. We're just going to go on single right now, and we're just going to take that first LFO, and that is going into our data module here so we can look at it, and we can see what the LFO is doing. That's what it's doing, and if we turn that up, we can see it gets faster. And now normally you don't do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that LFO and plug it in to our VCA, just so we can hear it. If you're curious at all as what this would sound like if you just put it into a VCA, so we can hear it getting faster. We can hear it getting slower. But normally that's not what you use it for. What we're going to use this LFO for is to, let's see, we will use it to, I'm going to change up this patch a little bit. You're going to be with me while I do it. So instead of going into the VCA directly out into our filter and then out into the output, we are going to go into the VCA. This red cable here is still my Minilogue. So right now we can't hear anything, but the red cable is coming from the Minilogue. And that's going to go into the beads, and the beads is going to go into our black hole DSP2, which is a multi. Actually, no, we're not going to do that just because you can't see it right now. The same. I'll get the same point across with just the beads. All right, so we're just going to go from the beads into our output, but we're going to go left and right. No, there's no reason to go. No, we'll go left and right, but we're just going to have to sum both of the inputs into one output, because I'm only capturing one output off of these 1/4 inches here, because I only have 2 inputs on my interface when one is being taken up by the mic currently. Alright, so, oh god, that's loud. That's too loud, actually. That's also too loud. There we go. Alright, so right now the LFO is not doing anything. This cable here is our LFO. And like I said, we can use LFOs to change parameters. Now, this is a parameter right here on the beads. This is a reverb dry wet. So if we turn that up, it's at 0 right now. Turn it up halfway. You hear that? You hear the reverb? So let's say I want the LFO to be changing the dry wet of that reverb based on the value of the LFO. What I can do here in the beads is if I click this button, it'll highlight a different one of these effects, and whatever signal I put into this input right here, it will change whatever effect I have selected based on the value of the signal. So if I plug the LFO into the dry wet on the reverb here, now let's listen to it. We're going to turn that down. You see when the LFO reaches its peak, the reverb is all the way up. Now let's actually turn the LFO up really fast and hear what that sounds like. Sounds interesting. Now let's change the waveform. Make it something wacky. That's pretty wacky. No, that's just like a triangle wave. Let's make it even wackier. That looks like that's just a square. Can I get something wacky here? Okay, that looks like it's just random now. Nice. All right, let's change something different. What else do we want to change? Let's actually change the amplitude based on our LFO. So we'll take that out of there, and we will plug the LFO, into the CV input on our first channel. And it looks like it gives it a negative value too. That's what the red is. So we'll have it halfway, so it can turn it down and turn it up. Oh, that's really fucking loud. Maybe I'll just have it half. Makes it too loud. I want it to still be barely audible when the LFO is at 0. Which we can turn the amount down. Because this knob here is equivalent to the int on our Korg Minilogue, where we're changing the amount that the LFO is going to change the amplitude of the signal. So we can turn that up a little bit. Turn up a little bit more, turn this a little bit down. There we go. You can barely hear it at the bottom. It's perfect. Now we'll make it really freaking fast and listen to it now. Oh, I'm clipping very hard because that is just way too loud. There we go. Nice. But we have all these outputs, on this LFO generator. So let's use another one to change something else. Let's use this. And I'm going to plug this into 2 so we can also see that. So we're going to be seeing both of these now. Oh, so look, yeah, it looks like they're just like a little bit offset from each other on single. But if we turn it to multi, they're 2 completely different waveforms now. So maybe that's what to do. Multi is just like, they're all the same rate, but just different waveforms. Nice. We'll have it on single, and we'll actually plug this into something right here. So it's like just on the off beats. We'll have something happen on the off beat. But what do we want to happen? Let's see. I mean, we can use this to now control the reverb on the beads here. Maybe now, I guess the way it's set up, when the VCA is at its lowest point, then the reverb is at its highest point. So we can't really hear what that's doing. So let's actually bring it closer. There we go. Let's move that over here. Now I'm just messing around. Let's make the LFO not control the VCA. Let's make it control the cutoff. We'll just have it control the cutoff of the filter. Can't really hear it. Or I want it to be more drastic on this, because this. Oh, well, now it's just like not loud enough. That's what I was hearing. There we go. All right, and we're going to plug that back in to the reverb here. what actually we're going to do is what I should have done. So we're going to turn this into green and use this on right there. So now the green cable corresponds to the green signal here, which is the LFO coming out of here, and the blue cable corresponds to the blue signal. Perfect. Turn that up again. Nice. Cool. All right, now in the last part of this video, I'm just gonna be jamming with this LFO generator right here, and gonna try to make some crazy sounds. But I hope this video was helpful in your understanding of LFOs and how they're used in musical synthesis. And hopefully, you know, now next time you see an LFO and you're in a DAW effect or on a synth or in a modular synth, you're like, oh, I know what that does and how I can use it. All right, thank you for watching, and leave the like, you know, and comment, because I want you to.